AITA for spending $5,000 of my saved fun money on a gaming setup, being accused of financial infidelity by my husband, and now being told I need to make up for being a low-value woman? My husband Ben 33M, and I 33F, have been together for what feels like a lifetime. In a good way, or at least it used to feel that way. We've been married for 10 years, but our story started back in college, where we met and fell in love. Those early days were a whirlwind of youthful optimism and dreams of building a future together. From the very beginning, one thing we always agreed on was the importance of financial security. It was something we both valued and prioritized, even when we were just starting out and didn't have much to our names. Back then, we were just two broke college students trying to figure out life. We didn't have a lot of money, but we had ambition, and we were determined to make smart choices that would set us up for success down the line. We were both lucky enough to graduate with minimal student loan debt. This was largely because we both chose state schools, applied for scholarships, and lived relatively modestly while we were in school. By the time we graduated, we were in a much better position than a lot of our peers. Fast forward to today, and those early efforts have really paid off. We're both fortunate to have well-paying jobs, earning close to $200,000 each, and we've worked hard to create a lifestyle that is comfortable, secure, and free of financial stress. We're debt-free, which feels like such a rare thing these days. We paid off our student loans within just a few years after graduating, thanks to our combined incomes and disciplined budgeting. We don't have any credit card debt, and we don't have a mortgage either, because we live in a house I inherited from my grandmother. The house is a big part of our financial stability. It's not just a roof over our heads. It's a symbol of the foundation we've built together. When my grandmother left it to me, I was incredibly grateful, and it gave us a huge advantage as a young couple. Not having a mortgage means we can save more of our income and focus on other financial goals, like retirement and building an emergency fund. Speaking of savings, we've been very intentional about planning for the future. We max out our 401k contributions every year, which is something I'm really proud of. It's reassuring to know that we're setting ourselves up for a comfortable retirement, even though it still feels like a lifetime away. On top of that, we've built an emergency fund that could cover 18 months of expenses if something unexpected happened. It's a safety net that gives me peace of mind, and we're still adding to it regularly. Even our cars are paid off, and we don't anticipate needing to replace them for at least another 5 years. It's little things like this that add up and create a sense of stability. When it comes to managing our finances, we've found a system that works well for us. Or at least it did until recently. We use a hybrid approach. We have joint accounts for things like bills, savings, and larger expenses, but we also have separate accounts for what we call fun money. Each month, we allocate $1,500 to our individual fun money accounts. This money is strictly for personal spending, things like hobbies, clothes, or outings with friends. It's not meant to cover joint expenses like date nights, vacations, or household repairs, which all come out of our shared account. The fun money system has always given us a sense of independence while still keeping our finances aligned. We also agreed early on that any bonuses we receive or income from side hustles would go into our individual fun money accounts, unless we needed the money for a major expense, like a big home repair. It's been a pretty fair arrangement, at least in theory. One thing I've noticed over the years is that Ben and I have very different spending habits when it comes to our fun money. Ben is much more of a spender than I am, and that's fine. It's his money to use as he sees fit. He has expensive hobbies, like golf and collecting sports memorabilia, and he also enjoys buying designer clothes. These are things that bring him joy, so I don't mind. On the other hand, my hobbies are a lot less expensive. I'm a long-distance runner, so most of my spending is on running gear, like shoes and workout clothes, but that's about it. I also love reading, baking, and spending time with friends, but those activities don't really cost much. A great time for me is having tea with a close friend at home and serving homemade pastries. I'm naturally more introverted, and my idea of fun is usually pretty low-key. Lately though, I've been rediscovering an old hobby, gaming. It's something I used to enjoy a lot in my younger years, but I set it aside when my career took off and life got busy. Now that I've settled into a good rhythm with work, I've had more time to get back into it, and it's been really fun to reconnect with something that used to bring me so much joy. After saving up more than enough in my fun money account, I decided to treat myself to a major upgrade. I bought a brand new gaming PC, along with a gaming desk and chair. The total cost came to about $5,000, but I felt good about the purchase because I'd saved up for it over time. It wasn't an impulsive decision, and it didn't touch our joint finances. I was excited to share my new setup with Ben, but his reaction completely caught me off guard. Instead of being happy for me or supportive, he was furious. He said he had no idea I'd saved up that much money, and accused me of being sneaky about it. I pointed out that it was my fun money we had both agreed was for individual spending, and that it didn't affect him or our shared finances. But he wasn't convinced. He said that by saving up so much money without telling him, I was essentially being financially dishonest. He even used the term financial infidelity, which felt like a huge overreaction. He demanded that I return the items I purchased and deposit most of the money into our joint account. He also proposed a new rule. Fun money accounts shouldn't be allowed to accumulate more than $2,000, with any excess going back into the joint account. This rule, of course, would only benefit him since he spends his fun money almost as quickly as he gets it. It felt incredibly unfair, and I told him so. I explained that I wasn't hiding anything. He'd never asked how much I had in my fun money account before, and it never occurred to me to bring it up. But he insisted that I'd been deceptive, and that he'd lost trust in me. The whole situation has left me feeling like I'm being punished for being a saver instead of a spender. I've never questioned how Ben spends his fun money, or how much he has left in his account. I've always respected his autonomy, so why can't he do the same for me? For additional context, my gaming setup isn't in a shared space. It's in my home office, which is a room I use exclusively. I also don't usually game when Ben is home, unless he's busy doing something else, like golfing. Most of my gaming happens when he's out of the house, so it's not like it's interfering with our time together. I've been trying to figure out if I could have handled things differently. Should I have told him I was saving up for a gaming setup? Should I have been more transparent about my plans? Maybe. But at the same time, I don't think it's reasonable for him to demand control over how I use money that's specifically allocated for my personal spending. So now I'm left wondering, am I the asshole in this situation? TLDR, my husband Ben 33M, and I 33F, are both high-income earners, each making around $200,000 annually. We own our house outright with no mortgage, have no other debts, and save close to half of our income. While most of our finances are joint, we each get $1,500 per month as fun money for hobbies, luxury items, and outings with friends. Ben typically spends all his fun money every month on hobbies like golf and collecting memorabilia, while I tend to save mine since my interests, such as running and baking, are much less expensive. Recently, I got back into gaming after a long break, and decided to treat myself by using $5,000 of my saved fun money to buy a new gaming setup, including a high-end PC, a gaming desk, and a comfortable chair. When Ben found out, he was furious and accused me of financial infidelity, even though I followed the agreed-upon rules. The update. After Ben had some time to cool off, we sat down for an honest and much-needed conversation. It became clear that his anger wasn't just about the gaming setup or the money. It was actually a symptom of larger frustrations he's been bottling up in our relationship. What followed was one of the most difficult but revealing discussions we've ever had. One, career ambition. One of Ben's biggest concerns is that he feels he's far more invested in his career growth than I am in mine. While we currently earn about the same, he's in finance, a field where the earning potential is much higher than in my field of tech and software development. He's been putting in long hours and undergoing intensive executive training to climb the ladder in his career. Meanwhile, I've chosen to prioritize work-life balance. I work from home in a job that I find both enjoyable and manageable, and I'm not particularly interested in chasing promotions or moving into leadership roles. For Ben, this disparity is becoming a point of resentment. He feels like he's shouldering a heavier burden by putting himself under so much stress, and he's worried that as his income grows, the gap between us will widen. He's afraid that in the long term, he'll be pulling most of the financial weight in our household, while I'll continue to prioritize personal fulfillment and hobbies over professional advancement. What makes this tricky is that I don't feel the same drive he does to climb the corporate ladder. I love my job, I love the flexibility it offers, and I value the time it gives me to focus on things outside of work. We're already financially secure, so I don't feel the need to push myself harder just to earn more money. But Ben sees this as me not pulling my weight or not being equally invested in our future. 2. Cooking and acts of service. Another issue Ben brought up is the effort I've been putting into our home life, particularly cooking. For years, I've done the majority of the cooking in our household. This arrangement works for us because I work from home and have a more relaxed schedule, while Ben works long hours in a high-stress environment. Until recently, I enjoyed experimenting with recipes and creating elaborate meals, complete with multiple sides, creative plating, and even thoughtful table settings. But over the past few months, around the time I got back into gaming, I've simplified things. Instead of elaborate meals, I've been making things like grilled chicken salads, chili with cornbread, or simple stir-fries. I've also stopped putting as much effort into decorating the table. I used to include fresh flowers, matching placemats, and other small touches to make dinner feel special, but I didn't think Ben noticed or cared about these details. Apparently he does. Ben explained that acts of service are one of his primary love languages, and he feels neglected when I don't put the same effort into cooking and home care as I used to. Hearing this was a bit of a wake-up call for me because I hadn't realized how much these things mattered to him. 3. Appearance and presentation. Ben also admitted that he's been disappointed with the effort I put into my appearance. To be clear, he emphasized that he isn't criticizing my body. I'm a long-distance runner, so I'm in great shape, but he wants me to pay more attention to things like clothes, hair, and makeup. For context, I've never been the type to dress up every day. I work in tech, where the dress code is extremely casual, and since I work from home, my typical outfit consists of fitted t-shirts, yoga pants, and no makeup. My hair is usually pulled back in a simple ponytail. For me, this is practical and comfortable, and it's still neat and presentable. I do glam up for date nights and special occasions, but on an average day I keep it simple. Ben, however, feels that my casual look doesn't show the same effort he sees from other women, especially the polished, career-focused women he works with in finance. He admitted he's started noticing other women who always seem effortlessly put together, with stylish outfits, perfect hair, and interesting hobbies or accomplishments. To his credit, he was honest about his feelings and acknowledged that he hates the way he's been thinking. He knows he's being judgmental, and that I'm a good person who doesn't deserve to be compared to others. But he also admitted that his goals and expectations have shifted over the past few years, and he's struggling with the gap between what he wants and how things are now. 4. The root of the financial infidelity accusation. Ben explained that the gaming setup wasn't just a purchase. It represented something bigger to him. In his mind, it symbolized me prioritizing my hobbies and personal enjoyment over investing in myself or our relationship. He used the phrase cheating on our future, which stung, but I understand where he's coming from. He sees my lack of ambition and my focus on hobbies as a form of neglect, even if I don't feel that way. Where we go from here? After this conversation, I've been reflecting a lot on our marriage and what we both want out of it. I know many people would tell me to walk away, but we've been together for over a decade, and I'm not ready to give up without trying. We've already made an appointment with a marriage counselor, and our first session is next week. In the meantime, I've decided to make some small changes to show Ben that I'm listening and that I care. I'm planning to put more effort into cooking and table settings, start dressing up a bit more when he's on his way home from work, and generally be more attentive to the things that matter to him. That said, I'm also aware that I can't lose myself in the process. If trying to meet his expectations leaves me feeling drained or resentful, I'll need to reevaluate. For now, I'm willing to give it a month or two and see how things feel after counseling and some effort on both sides. Edit. I've come to realize that Ben's expectations are unfair, and that I don't need to change that much to make him happy. I'm a people pleaser by nature and have been trained to put others first, but I'm starting to realize that I deserve more appreciation for what I already bring to the table. I'm still going to counseling, but I'm putting off any major changes until we have professional guidance. For the record, my at-home look is casual but neat fitted t-shirts, yoga pants, and a ponytail. I'm not lounging around in baggy sweatpants or oversized shirts. The more I reflected on the situation, the more uneasy I felt about Ben's requests, or rather demands. They just didn't sit right with me. It wasn't just that they felt unfair or unreasonable. It was deeper than that. I couldn't shake the sense that no matter what I did, it wouldn't be enough. That the goalposts would keep moving, and I'd always end up feeling like I was failing. But instead of continuing to question myself in circles, I decided to test this theory. Over the weekend, I tried a little experiment. Not because I thought his demands were valid or because I felt he deserved my effort after the way he'd been treating me, but because I wanted clarity. I needed to see for myself if trying to meet his expectations would change anything, or if this was a losing game all along. Saturday, glow-up and dinner date at home. I started Saturday by heading to the salon for a full glow-up. I got a fresh haircut, highlights to brighten my look, and even treated myself to a mani-pedi. It had been a while since I'd done something like this for myself, and I figured if effort and presentation were so important to Ben, I'd go all out. From there, I stopped by the farmer's market to pick up fresh flowers for the table, lavender and white tulips, because I know those are colors Ben likes. I also grabbed gourmet ingredients for a special dinner I plan to make that night. Typically, Saturday is our date night out, but I suggested we stay in so I could prepare something extra special. My goal was to create a full steakhouse-style experience at home. The menu? Lobster bisque to start, followed by a bread basket with a variety of homemade rolls and savory muffins. For the main course, I made filet mignon with au gratin potatoes and crab-stuffed mushrooms, and for dessert, a white chocolate mousse topped with fresh raspberries. I didn't stop at the food. I set the table beautifully, candles, placemats, polished silverware, and the fresh flowers I'd picked up earlier. And I even dressed up for the occasion, wearing a lavender sheath dress, his favorite color on me, high heels and full hair and makeup. I wanted to show him that I'd listened to everything he said about effort, presentation, and acts of service. When it was all ready, I called him to the table. He sat down, ate, and gave me a lukewarm thanks, it was tasty, and a quick kiss on the cheek. That was it. No real acknowledgement of the effort, the details, or the care I'd put into making the evening special. And of course, I did all the serving and cleanup afterward without any help. Sunday brunch at home. Normally we'd go out for brunch on Sunday, but Ben suggested I make it at home instead. So I got up early and planned another elaborate meal. I made French press coffee, mimosas with freshly squeezed orange juice, Belgian waffles with a bananas Foster topping, scrambled eggs with Parmesan and fresh herbs from our garden, roasted fingerling potatoes, and maple glazed bacon. Just like Saturday, I put effort into my appearance. I wore a sleeveless blue sundress, wedge sandals, and did my hair and makeup. I set the table nicely, thinking maybe this time he'd appreciate the work I'd put in. Again he ate, said, "Thanks, it's good," and offered no help with serving or cleaning up. The breaking point. The conversation after brunch. After brunch, I asked him directly if this was what he had in mind when he critiqued me before. His response stunned me. He said that it was a start, but then accused me of being entitled for wanting credit for what he called basic adulting. As if that wasn't insulting enough, he dropped a bombshell. He told me he was being hard on me because I had a lot to make up for in his eyes, because I was, according to him, a low-value woman. I was floored. I asked him what on earth he meant by that. That's when he said it. It was because I wasn't a virgin when we met. I could barely believe what I was hearing. We started dating when we were both 21. Neither of us had claimed to be virgins or had expressed any expectation of that. And honestly, who assumes that most 21-year-olds in college are virgins? For context, I'd had 2 previous partners before Ben, my high school boyfriend and another boyfriend I dated during my first year of college. Both relationships were committed and nothing casual. I was upfront about this when we started dating and it was never an issue, or so I thought. But now, years later, Ben told me that because of my low value, I would need to spend the rest of my life making it up to him. That I didn't deserve monogamy or equal treatment. And that I was lucky anyone wanted to marry me at all. The affair revelation. As if that wasn't enough, He went on to say that he's connected with someone from work. He didn't outright admit to an affair, but the implication was clear. He told me that if I wanted to keep him, I needed to step up. That was the final straw for me. I told him that it didn't sound like there was anything left to keep if he no longer loved, liked, or respected me. He responded that he'd gladly leave and go to his girlfriend's place. Where things stand now, I feel so foolish for not seeing this sooner. So many people had told me they thought he was having an affair, and I just didn't want to believe it. I thought he was going through a tough time at work or genuinely wanted to work on our marriage. Instead, I see now that his complaints were part of a calculated campaign to wear me down and justify his own behavior. I've taken this week off from work to process everything and get my head together. I have an appointment with a lawyer tomorrow to start the divorce process, and I've canceled our marriage counseling appointment. Instead, I've scheduled an intake session with an individual therapist later this week. Ben is coming by this evening, along with his girlfriend apparently, to collect more of his things. I'm bracing myself for that interaction, but I've decided that this is the end. Final thoughts. Please rest assured, I do not think I am low value in any way. For a short time I let Ben's words make me doubt myself, but I've since realized that this is entirely a him problem. His behavior and values are completely incompatible with mine, and he's become someone I don't even recognize. The road ahead won't be easy. Divorce rarely is, but I know I'll be okay. I'm grateful to everyone who helped me see that I was being played before I wasted any more time in a marriage that was already over.